5-Year Mission, the podcast, episode 56.
This episode of 5-Year Mission, the podcast, is brought to you by Fansets, your home for all things pop culture pin related. Head over to fansets.com and see all that they have to offer. And also stay tuned at the end of the episode for a very special offer from us here at 5-Year Mission.
It appears to be working. So we'll just hope. Hope and fear.
Let me see your notes.
I'm going to check over there every once. No,
let me see them.
No.
So that I'm not asking questions before you get a chance.
no.
Wow, Chris. I thought we were friends.
By now you figured out that this is the 5-Year Mission podcast.
Welcome to 5-Year Mission, the podcast, the only podcast hosted by a band called 5-Year Mission. I am one of your hosts, Andy Fark.
And I'm the other one.
That's who
Chris
you.
Spurgeon.
We are sitting in lovely East Side Indianapolis, not going to say undisclosed location, sitting across from us that you just heard giggle at that. We have the wonderful, the talented, the lovely Bonnie Gordon with us today.
That's me.
It's you.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Already singing?
Oh, shoot.
I hope there's lots of sing-song.
Cut it in post. I'm just kidding.
Don't blow your wad so early, Bonnie.
Sorry. Yes, I do that. Hi, everybody. I'm Bonnie Gordon.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we finally got to sit down with you. You were
Right? I just had to fly across the country to make this happen.
well, only halfway across the country, though, at least.
Well, I don't know. I don't know maps.
It wasn't coast to coast. We're smack dab in the middle of everything, so you're fine.
We're right of center.
I mean, you're like...
It's just
East of center.
just like our politics here in Indiana.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm in East Indianapolis, so from the west to the east.
That's right. Further east.
Hey, I'm further
in the
east
middle.
than where I was in Los
Very
Angeles.
true.
Yes, Bonnie comes to us from Los Angeles. We actually met you in Chicago.
That's right.
In,
Yeah.
What was it, March? Something like
Something
that?
like that.
Well, honestly, actually, I met you guys years ago at Star Trek Las Vegas, but
Did
you don't remember me. It's fine. I was just like walking by, and I was like, oh, and I trying to talk to you guys. All ignored me. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But no, I did meet you guys years ago. Again, it was so long ago.
We're such prima donnas.
I just thought it was really
are.
fun.
You just can't talk to us.
And maybe you two weren't at the table at the
That's
time.
true.
So you can blame it on the other members. Yeah.
That's fair. Mike was probably there.
I'm
actually,
usually the
we'll
one
go with
missing.
that. It was
Mike.
definitely him.
It was Mike.
I'm like the social butterfly at conventions that has to go around and talk to all the other people there. So I don't let them come to me.
I didn't
like
have a
some
table or
butthole.
anything. I was just there as like a Star Trek fan. This was before Prodigy, before everything. So I was just kind of like, wee.
Just by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Wee.
Wee.
We'll get to Prodigy, but not yet.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
not
Oh
yet.
gosh.
No, that's
spoilers.
okay. That's okay.
Cut it in post.
I think that probably, well, I hesitate to say that's what you would be the best known for because you've done so much.
Maybe in the Star Trek realm.
Currently.
Currently. Exactly. But no, I feel I'm known for other things.
But let's go back because I did look at the Wikipedia page.
I haven't written on my own Wikipedia page, so
Neither
I'm
have we.
concerned.
Well,
Oh, what's
What
on
I'm-
there? I gotta go look.
I am guessing though that there are some, just kind of the general gist is there, and what I didn't realize is how much that you've done. I mean,
It might be all lies.
Basically,
darling.
this is a whole Bonnie Gordon. This is your life thing now. All
All
of a
right.
sudden.
Genesis, a star was born. Let's start.
Well,
Begin, boys.
you began in Louisiana, correct?
I did.
Okay, you're
that is correct.
from Louisiana.
Born and raised.
Okay, and this may or may not be true, but I hear tell
Oh.
that your grandfather was portrayed in Band of Brothers.
He was.
Correct?
He was part of the. He was part of the 501st. Wait, 501st.
That's Star Wars. Wow.
I do
was a
that.
stormtrooper.
Yeah, my grandfather was a stormtrooper in World War II.
You're mixing Star
Clone Trooper, I
Star
guess.
Wars and Tom Hanks vehicles now.
Oh god, he was in the. He was. Oh my gosh, he was in the Band of Brothers.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! But I do that sometimes. Numbers are hard. Math
I
is
know,
hard. He was in the Airborne of the Band of Brothers, and so in the movie and in the book, like he's a big part of the books, and in the movie they had an actor, Ben Kaplan, playing him.
Oh.
So it's really interesting that a British man played my Cajun / Mississippian grandfather. I was like, that's a choice. But
All
Vince,
those
he did a great job.
Brits stealing jobs from hardworking
From
Cajun
our
actors.
hardworking Cajuns. Yeah.
Now, was that your first at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the most entertainment adjacent that you'd been?
No, so growing up, I loved music. I loved. I discovered theater and music and became a little like theater bug.
Were you a theater nerd?
I was.
Because I totally get that.
I totally was, and I was a musical theater major in college and an opera minor as well. Yeah,
Oh, okay. And that's when you were at Northwestern State University.
that's
correct?
right. Northwestern NSU. Shout out! Whenever I say I went to Northwestern, people are like, "Ooh, in Chicago." I'm like, "No, the one in Natchitoches, Louisiana." So maybe not so well known, but still has a lot of heart.
Still, yeah.
Yeah.
Now from there you went to Disney, right?
I went.
Orlando.
So Hurricane Katrina happened,
Yeah.
and I guess my Wikipedia is pretty accurate.
Yeah, there
This
you
is
go.
where we're getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Katrina happened, and I decided to fly away, literally, to a different location from Louisiana and
was
worked
the
for Disney
hurricane,
World.
Did that instigate that, or was that something that you'd already been?
I always
planning?
wanted to leave Louisiana. Not that I don't love my home,
Yeah.
but again, I wanted to pursue a career in the arts, and my original plan was to go to school in New York City, and I also applied to Boulder, Colorado, University of Boulder, and I got in. I got into NYU. I got into Boulder, but I couldn't afford either, so I ended up staying in Louisiana because it was free and cheap and home.
State school.
Exactly. But after Katrina, I kind of took it as, this is kind of a sign. They were pulling so much funds from anywhere they could to help rebuild the state. Yeah. And the first thing to go with a lot of education funding was the arts. And as we were seeing budget cuts, and all the colleges from New Orleans, they were busing all the students to all the other schools all over Louisiana and Texas. So some of our classes tripled overnight because there were just busloads of college kids now in our classes. So it got to the point where I felt like no matter what, I wasn't going to be getting the educational experience that I wanted to. Yeah. And also it was great excuse to go play in a theme park. Come on. I mean, of course I'm going to, Mickey Mouse was like, he will take you. And I was like,
so were you an entertainer there?
Cast member.
I was a cast member.
But they're all cast members, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
I was a tour guide at the Backlot Tour. So it was kind of still in the entertainment realm. I had a 45-minute script that I had to do and that I sometimes followed. I thought my tour
Why does that
was
not
pretty
surprise me
entertaining.
about you?
Oh man, what was some of the stuff I would do? I loved to incorporate music into my tour, which was a big no-no for them. But, I would do stuff like it's a tour of props and a tour of spiels. It's a tour of costumes and cars on wheels. There's so much that we show that you won't want to go. It's a long tour after all. Everybody, like the whole tram, it's a long tour. Anyway.
Oh my God.
I love it.
And now I don't work there anymore, so they can't fire me now.
That's true.
Ha-ha.
Copyright be damned.
Ha-ha. I loved working there. I would spend all my days off in the parks playing, and I'd go to Universal.
That's what I've heard.
I was young. I was like 18, 19 years old.
Oh, perfect age for that.
So for me, like, I didn't realize I was getting like pennies on the dime for a wage. I had no idea what a living wage was. I was just like, oh, a check. Wow. Ooh, I can eat food. But no, I did. I also got cast on a show outside of Disney, and that kind of like jump started my career.
Was that just like a musical that you were doing outside of that, or no?
It
Tony
was Tony and Tina's wedding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
look at you and your research, Chris.
I know.
I know. I'm so impressed. I feel like I'm being interrogated right now.
Well, every time I saw Tony and Tina, and I don't know if you remember, but there was this Escape from Witch Mountain movie, like a Disney movie,
I remember
when I was a
Escape from
kid,
Witch Mountain.
and it was Tony and Tia, and they were just like these little witch kids, and so every time I saw it, I'm like, is that what this is? Is this about
they turned
witch
it into
children?
a theatrical play where a big family wedding with the aliens and everything.
Why did they change her name?
Copyright.
Anyway, so you did
mouse
that,
is
and then
Tony
you
and Tina's wedding. It's a show that's been going on for so long. I mean, I have a feeling a lot of the locations have closed since COVID because it's a show where you family style eating and whatnot. But it was in New York City for many years. I think it was like one of the it was in the it's the longest off-Broadway dinner theater show in New York. They had a location in Vegas as well. And then I was in part of the original cast in the Orlando show. And did that for a while, and then I ended up later, skipping a step, but I ended up later in Vegas doing that show as well.
Now, is that Step the Traveling with the Romani show?
Yes.
Okay.
My life, I should write a book. I feel like,
should.
honestly, I feel like I'm like, wow, my life is actually kind of interesting.
Well,
when you
jobs of
when
Bonnie
you play
Gordon.
it back for me, I'm actually kind of cool.
I told you, I was looking at all this. I'm like, that's really cool. This is amazing. I can't believe I'm excited to
For
talk
like
to Bonnie.
3 to 4 months of
home.
my life, I went on tour with this. They were Romanian horse trick riding show. Where the first half of the show, we traveled to Ren fairs all over the world. The first half of the show was they were all dressed as knights, and it was a competition. So where they had the jousting, sword fighting, different games.
The weird rope things.
They'd have to get their lance through the hoops,
rings,
all that stuff.
Okay.
And I was their MC. And so I got to create a character. I got to improv. It was just me being a winch.
Actually,
I was like,
I believe Wikipedia calls you a barker.
I guess.
That makes sense, like a carnival barker.
I would say like an MC.
I like the MC.
Yeah, I was like,
struck
a little
me
more
as-
official.
Woof, woof. That was me. But no, I was more of a I was Lady Thistle. Like, I'm a real lady, I is. I did this whole thing. I was
so
like, come
Cockney.
here, babes and bobbies, let's go. And we do the whole show. And then all the guys would like yell at me and make fun of me. And it was like me versus the boys type of thing. So while they're like riding past me, I'd be like, "Why don't you go slip into something more comfortable, sir? Like a coma," like stuff like that. It was fun.
Just roasting them as they were jousting.
I'd be like, "Ladies and gentlemen, the hardest part of this next trick is the ground." Stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. I came up with really funny insults. I looked up like medieval insults.
Old English one-liners.
Yeah, old English one-liners. So I had a lot of fun playing Lady Thistle. And then like the second half of the show was their like beautiful like trick riding show where they're like blowing fire and doing like acrobatic tricks on the back of the horses, which I of course did. I held the machetes and like held the fire, but didn't do anything else besides that. In
Machete
that part of the
handler and MC.
yeah. I was like, I MC the show, hold the machetes, typical Tuesday at the
whatever.
Ren Fair. So it was a lot of fun, but I only did that for a short while, and I was thinking about going back to Orlando, but didn't know if I wanted to go back to, theme park life down
Florida
there.
in
to
general.
Florida. And luckily, one of the producers of Raphael, the producer of Tony Tina's Wedding, said, "Hey, the Vegas cast, we just had a few people leave. I can literally drop you in full time. Like, the two girls that are leaving played the parts that I was trained in, like multiple parts, like 3 or 4 parts. So I could just jump in full time, do it 5-6 days a week." And I was like, "Yeah."
Hey,
So I moved to Vegas. I had just turned 21, driving across the country to Vegas, like in a little bitty car, a little Toyota Echo. Had an air mattress and a lamp. That was like
Living the dream.
living the
An
dream.
air mattress, a lamp, and a wish and a smile.
That's right.
Now you're in Vegas.
Yeah.
You're doing the show.
Doing the show.
So at what point do you start doing Star Trek?
The experience.
Yeah, so that I get to Vegas in 2007. So then I was doing Tony and Tina's Wedding there. I was singing at the Roxy's Diner for a short time. I was singing with a few bands as well. There's a shout out to my ladies, Killian's Angels. It was an Irish female rock band. They were amazing. They're still out there rocking and rolling.
Oh, wow.
I was their baby. They let me come in, and I just kind of forced my way into the band.
Come in,
like,
young pup. Let us show
I
you
like
the world.
ran up to the stage. I'm like, I know a song in Gaelic. I used to sing back in New Orleans when I was like 16, 17 years old. I used to sing in an Irish pub and like a couple bars. I was singing in bars way before I should have.
Yeah.
And that was what led me to how I am today.
What you see
Were you
before
singing
What you see is what you get.
theme appropriate music at the Irish bars, or was it more like
I was part of a show called Celtic Christmas. I was doing stuff like that, but I'm singing drinking songs and all these things, like as a child, like
Old enough.
Whiskey in the
and
jar.
I also speak a little Gaelic and can sing in Gaelic. So there was a song called Erin Groma Cree that I would sing, and I got up and sang it in Vegas with Killian's Angels one night, and they were just like, "Oh, this is interesting." And then they just started
legit.
pulling, and then I was like, "I also sing Proud Mary," and then so we start that song, and then they just let me be a part of the band, or I wouldn't leave.
Right.
So it's kind of how I feel of me just like one day just crashing your guys' band. I'll just be like, "Hey guys, let me
It'll
sing
happen.
a cover with you,"
It's
and
bound
then
to
I just
happen.
never leave, and then I'm like your token.
Well,
Our official
I'm your
mascot.
token Nurse Chapel in the
That's
background.
right.
Yeah.
we've
Oh,
already
we'd gladly have it.
we've already harassed you about maybe recording with us for
I'm
for our
all
next
in.
album.
All in.
We have to figure out
What?
what we're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're still fleshing things out.
Oh, we were talking about it.
Oh, I know. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready to
So
jump in.
you've always had this music in your heart,
Yes.
so to speak.
Well, music's always been a huge part of who I am, and I love singing. I love performing. So, but I was always so afraid to I'm jumping ahead, but I was always so afraid to perform my own music, my own original music. But yeah, Vegas was great. I sang with a few bands, loved doing that, and then yes, I got cast in Star Trek: The Experience. What a fun job. Shout out to my old buddies over there. Man, when that thing closed down, I'd never seen so many Klingons cry.
what we've
seriously, that was such an amazing place. And what a cool thing to have. I wish they would bring
When
it
was
back,
that? When
or-
you were there?
2007,
08.
2008. I was only
Okay.
in Vegas for a short time.
Now, what was your
it was
character
really
at
cool,
the
though.
experience?
So I do remember one of the names of the characters was Ensign Thomas. I was on the track, we were like a rotating cast, so you get trained in all these different,
Like whoever shows up for that day or
exactly.
shift.
Yeah, well, you get trained. You're being rotated around, and then when you get to a certain role, then you get a break for lunch, stuff like that. So yeah, it's really bizarre. But I remember I would always almost have ensign pips because I looked really young, and there's no way I could pull off commander.
You're no admiral at
Yeah,
that point.
exactly. You're no lieutenant
That's
commander.
the fastest rising admiral we've ever seen.
Yeah, but that would be always the thing. I'd have to make sure that I had the right pips on. You'd have to, because wait, I'm Ensign Thomas this time. I'm this person. I'm that. So you'd have to remember who you are, where you start.
As of 2 p.m., what's my rank?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a pip show.
So you weren't in Vegas very long.
I was not.
So,
I was part of the closing cast of Experience. Of the Star
Okay,
Trek.
Okay.
yeah, that's what
That's
I heard.
it's what made me a Trekkie. So I
Okay, that's where I was going to go next with that.
yeah.
BS'd my way through that audition so well, because they want to make sure you can improv. If something goes wrong, you have to
Yeah.
know your stuff.
Be able to banter,
Quarks is
yeah.
all about, improvising with the diners and whatnot as an alien. So during the audition, they really, press your improv skills. And luckily for me, I knew enough of Star Trek because I was a nerd.
Yeah.
And I was in the, fantasy sci-fi love. So I knew enough. Mm-hmm. But it was a lot of asking me a question. And I was like, that would break the prime directive. So Bonnie, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't disclose this information, and I would just do that. And then, but once I got through the audition, they were like, okay, maybe start watching some. So that way
Yeah.
you can answer things other than that.
Okay, so now what was your after that audition? What was your jump off point that anybody
Next
steered
gen.
you into? Okay,
Next gen. Well, and the reason being is I was mostly going to be on the Klingon encounter side.
Okay.
Or the Klingon. The experience had two sides to it.
Track
the
or
Klingon,
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, the Klingon side and the Borg experience.
Okay,
side.
okay.
The Borg 4D, and they were starting me on the Klingon side. Basically, they were putting me in the next gen spandex instead
Right.
of the DS9 Voyager
It's
type
spandex.
costumes. Yeah, the ones that were a little bit more forgiving. They
Yes.
put me in the not so forgiving ones. So I was like, okay, I'll wear this. And I knew that I should start watching Next Gen because I would be communicating on the screen with Commander Riker, Geordi
Right.
LaForge. I wanted to be familiar with those characters.
yeah.
And so I just dived in, started watching it. It was great. And then I think I became a real hardcore Trekkie started rewatching everything. I wanted to I was like, you know what? I want to start
From the beginning.
Yeah. And that was a little bit later after the experience. But I went straight to original series, animated series. Maybe could have skipped that one a little bit.
I'm the only one that likes the animated series.
I don't mind it. There's some great things.
Exactly. That's my opinion. I don't mind it, but it's nothing that I would sit down and rewatch.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to rewatch any anytime soon. Maybe 1 or 2 episodes.
The Glommers, at least.
Yeah. I do like that they have Kazenti in it. For some reason, I have a soft spot for the Kazenti. Maybe because I'm a cat person.
Exactly.
I think it's the main reason why I like it is because it has that look and feel of those old...
The old cartoons.
Yeah,
I'll accept that answer.
Yeah, it's. I enjoy that. It's not one that I would frequent. I don't think, but I do enjoy it.
I love all the different actors playing all the characters.
Yes.
They're just they're trying to change their voice a little bit. And you're just like,
that's not who you
There's
are.
5 characters that sound just like Uhura. But it's great. They did a great job.
You're not fooling anyone.
Loved
in the show.
Next Gen. Got to Voyager and fell in love with Janeway. She's my favorite captain, even though Picard has a close, right behind.
Well, I mean that was your first captain though, so yeah.
Yeah, Picard. Was my first captain. You never forget your first Doctor. You never forget your first captain.
Exactly.
And Picard was my first. But Janeway immediately, as soon as she started drinking coffee, I was like, oh, this is my captain. She and I can hang. And then I loved DS9. So yeah, I just love it all. And now all this new Trek we have, oh my gosh, what a time to be a Trekkie.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's something new constantly. Like we just finished up Strange New Worlds.
Oh,
just finished up 3rd season of Lower Decks, which is by far my favorite right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I love it.
And then now we're going to get a crossover episode with Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks, which I'm really waiting to see how they're going to pull that off and in what context.
I'm very curious too.
Yeah.
But
But now, since we're talking about new Trek, Prodigy.
What's that?
I know.
We're just gonna skip a few steps. We're
gonna skip a few steps since we're already on Trek right now, and
we'll circle back.
Oh, that's true. But we're past.
We'll circle back.
Well, Star Trek Experience once it closed down.
Yeah.
That's when I decided to move to California.
So you moved to LA.
Moved to LA, and that's when things really just kind of jump started for me. In both career and life.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you start out doing a lot of voice acting? And I know we haven't really gotten to the music yet, and I definitely want to touch on that.
We're definitely going to get that.
Yeah.
But we'll circle back to the music. But as far as your career going towards acting and voice acting, where did you begin once you got out to LA?
In LA, so I got to LA. I moved to LA mostly because I got accepted into the Second City Improv Conservatory.
Yeah.
I auditioned on a whim. I went to I walked into an open call and got shot straight to the conservatory, and all the intro classes skipped, and I was like, oh wow. So I was like, I guess I'm moving to LA now to be in Second City. That didn't last very long because I would try and juggle the classes, but I was also trying to do theater out in LA. And once I would book something like a show, I would be in rehearsals and this and that, and I'd miss my classes. They'd want me to take the classes over instead of making them up. So it just got to the point where I couldn't juggle the Second City anymore. But was doing a lot of theater out in LA and did a 1920s radio play, a serial radios play called Tales of the Extraordinary. And it was a live theater production. We recorded it live in front of an audience, and the audience would do the sound effects. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Nice.
And a lot of the people in that show were famous voiceover actors like Matt Mercer, Taliesin Jaffe, Michael Coleman, Kyle Hebert. So it was all these giants in the voiceover world. And then me, and I'm kind of like doopy-doo, and then there's Maude, and then they're just like, Bonnie, you should really get into voiceover. And I was like, what's that? They pay you to do this? And they kind of held my hand and gave me a push, a little jump start by getting me in touch with some of these little indie game studios that needed casting for things. And that jump started my voiceover career. So I really have Taliesin and Mercer to thank for helping me get my foot in the door.
Yeah, what a step in.
Right?
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, this was before Critical Role. This was before everything. This was back in 2008. 2009. So, now, I barely ever get to see them. They're amazing people. We still keep in touch. They're great friends, but they're so busy and they're just so high on this mountain. I'm looking down up on the, or looking down from. Wait, I'm looking up.
You're looking up.
They're looking. They're probably looking somewhere else.
Do you need to stand for perspective to get this right?
Levels are hard.
My hand is the mountain.
Oh, hello. I see you. But no, they're wonderful, wonderful people, and they deserve every bit of success that they've had.
They're definitely up there on the voiceover Mount Rushmore. So
But so they were the ones who kind of gave me a little nudge and got my foot in the door in the voiceover community. So I owe them everything, really.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I would ever even have pursued voiceover if it hadn't been for them saying, this is a job, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
I'm like, it's a what? Oh,
I can make money talking into other people's words into a microphone?
People pay money for me to do this? Oh my goodness. That's weird.
What was your first gig? Your first voiceover gig?
Oh gosh.
Oh, quiz time.
Oh, it was a video game. It was like a villain.
Oh, wow.
The character's name was Frunetti. I do remember that one.
Okay.
And she was a demon, like a villain. And then there was another one that I was a bunch of demons in called Demon Gaze. Demon Gaze was one. Demon Gaze. So these were all little indie games for PS Vita and stuff like that. I think but what I think really pushed me into the VO world, where I was actually starting to become known as a voiceover actor, was booking Street Fighter. I was the voice of Rainbow Mika on Street Fighter, and that because it's such a big. Has such a big following and it's such a well-known game and franchise, really. I just kind of fell into it when it came to the convention circuit. It was such a great door to get into working conventions and meeting fans and doing signings and whatnot.
Did doing that voice open other doors?
Absolutely. I mean, as soon as you have something like that under your belt, then it on your resume it kind of helps the other studios to take notice in you. Whenever I audition for something and they see that I've done that, they're like, oh, well, now we have the voice of Rainbow Mika on this project. So every
legitimacy,
every project helps with the next project, in my opinion. And that's why I try not to say no to too many things. I want to. You never know what the next, even if it's a small
what the
project,
stepping stone may be.
Yeah, or a small project that I help a friend make. You never know, 3 years later when they're working on something big, where they're like, you know what? I remember when Bonnie did this. Let's call her in.
Yeah,
she'd be great for that. So, I'm a big believer in high tides rise all ships, and I know in this industry sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah,
but I try and live by that motto, and I know a lot of my friends in the creative world do too.
So you're starting to get voiceover gigs, and it's going well.
It's going well.
At what point do you see? Do you go for the Prodigy gig, or do you? Because I know that you've told us this story a little bit where you weren't originally. I mean, originally you were doing scratch vocals
for Gwen and Janeway.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw that they were going to be doing, animated Star Trek series, I pulled every string in my power because I didn't have a voiceover agent at the time.
Oh, okay.
I've booked all my voiceovers myself or through word of mouth up until 2020.
Wow.
So during COVID is when I got a voiceover agent. After I had booked Star Trek is when I got a voiceover agent. I was like, okay, now you want me. Yeah, thanks guys.
Oh my God.
But I've booked everything myself since then. And I did have a commercial and theatrical agent. I'm with Media Artists Group. And I told my agent, I was like, all right, I know you guys you don't have a voiceover department, but I know you sometimes get breakdowns when they want bigger names for this. I have a feeling this project will want bigger names for this. So you will get these breakdowns and you will submit me. Like, I was trying to use my mind powers. I was
If
like,
you know what's good for you.
yeah. If you build it, they will come. If you submit me, I will book. So I begged them to find the breakdowns. I also slipped into the DMs. Please, anyone listening, do not do this. I regret this, I think, the most. I slid into the DMs of not only Mike McMahon from Lower Decks,
yeah.
but the Hageman brothers.
Oh.
And they were just so confused. They were like, who is this person? And I was like, I swear, I'm a professional. I do voiceovers. I'm not just a crazy fan, but I am a crazy fan. Like, and I was,
crazy Star Trek
and I
fan on
just
top of
kind of
being that.
rambled like a 3-page paragraph of just like, would love to audition, you know, trying to promote myself. And they were just like, we don't make these decisions.
Yeah, this
And
isn't us.
Also, they're like, you know, they were probably just like, oh no.
How did you get this number?
Exactly. I was like, sliding into those DMs. Don't do this, anyone. Don't do it. That didn't work. If it makes you feel better.
Right.
But I did get an audition through my agent, submitted for Gwen, and got all the way to the end of the casting process where it was down to like the last few people. And so they brought me in for a callback into Nickelodeon. This was in 2019. Wow.
Okay.
I know that's how long it takes.
Right.
It's a long process. So I go into Nickelodeon with I go into Nickelodeon wearing a like full red dress that looks like kind of Star Trek-esque. It's not an actual costume because I didn't
Right.
want to look that nutty. I mean, with a comm badge, a Star Trek messenger bag, and space print boots. And I walk into this callback, and I can already tell they were like, "Oh no, this we know what she's here for." And I walk in, and the Hageman brothers are in the callback as well. Like, it's, you know, some of the producers, the directors, you know, casting people. It's like quite a few people on the other side of the glass. And I walk in, and they were like, "It's Bonnie from Twitter." And I was like, "Oh no!" They were like, "You made it here." I was like, "I did." So I could tell. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. They were like, "Oh, it's that girl."
It was memorable, at
Oh.
least.
It was memorable.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was obviously a Trekkie, I obviously knew, like, I prepared for that callback. I wanted it so badly. And if you remember in the pilot, Gwen speaks a lot of different like languages and does different things like that. So I like had everything written out phonetically in my, you know, I was like, I was ready. I was so ready to get it all correct. And
Nail this.
I'm going to nail this. And I did do pretty well, and they wanted me to come in to do scratch for Gwen because they wanted, I think, a bigger name for the lead role. So they had me come do the scratch for her until they could find someone to fit what they were looking for.
Right.
And it was such a fun process. I got to do, I think, up to 8 episodes as Gwen.
Oh, wow.
And this was all right around COVID lockdown too. So, and then they also started calling me in to do the scratch voice for Janeway.
Oh,
And
God.
that was when I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, that was, I think, the most fun because, again, she's my favorite captain.
Yeah.
So they were like, how's your Janeway? And I was like, what do you mean, how's my Janeway? I'll do what I can. It won't be perfect, but I'll get the cadence right. And I don't think Kate Milgrew likes my Janeway.
She doesn't? Oh, my God.
I think I met her in Chicago. We were all at dinner, and we were all sitting around, and she looks at me and goes, "I hear you do my voice." And I go, "Oh, no, I do your..." Yeah, I was like,
Not in front of you, I
no,
don't."
please, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. But, of course, they were like, "Do it, Bonnie, do it." I'm like, okay. So I did her voice a little bit. She's like, "Let me hear it. Do it." And I do it, and she goes, "I don't sound like that." and I was like, no, ma'am, you don't. She goes, "You sound like Katharine Hepburn. I don't sound like that. I played her on Broadway, you know." And then she turns and starts talking about something else, and I'm like looking for any like sign that I've now fired or.
Right.
But
Or
it
just
turned out
ousted from the
funny. But I
community.
think she was just pulling my leg and giving her time. I'm like, look, I know I don't do your voice perfect. No one can. She's a goddess.
Yeah.
She's a queen. Listening to her tell a story is like someone holding court. You know, she's just unbelievable.
Just warm butter.
I just love her so much. But again, I also didn't. I was like, please don't be pissed.
Well, it's got to be weird hearing someone.
It's weird.
Do a version
Do a
of your
version
voice.
of you.
And
Yeah.
you know it's an exaggerated version, and you
Yeah.
know what I'm doing is nowhere near what she actually does sound
right.
like. I'm just like, it's a mimicry.
It's an impression.
Exactly.
And impressions are oftentimes exaggerated.
Exactly. So anyway, now that story is now officially on a
on record.
recording device.
Gotcha.
No, I'm sorry, Kate Milker. I love you.
Being a part of that process was really special because, you know, now whenever we're coming in and just doing our parts, like with the ship computer and whatnot, I only get like the scenes that I'm in or like the pickups that I need to do. But back when I was doing the scratch, they would send me the full script. I would just be waiting to refreshing my inbox like multiple times a day to see when the next script would come because they were. I mean, if you're watching it, it's so good. The storytelling, everything. I mean, spoilers, but episode 6, the Kobayashi Maru episode that Aaron Walke wrote. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine being the ship? So as the ship computer, you know, I get this episode and I'm going to have to go in and record. And as a Trekkie, can you imagine me getting to say like science officer Spock, communications officer Uhura, chief of security Odo. And I'm like, after every take, I go, ah! Like I was screaming, and they're like, Bonnie. I know. I would just squeal. I would turn the page and go, what? Because I got to record a whole bunch of other people. They didn't know who they were going to get the rights to, who they were going to get audio from the archive. So they just in case, they just had me like nail out everybody. You know, I was just like.
What is this rogues gallery I'm having to announce here?
I was like, this is my dream fanfic. This is what I want.
This is my Suicide Squad.
Yeah, exactly. So no, trust me, I have severe imposter syndrome.
Oh no, we do too.
My confidence is a pure optical illusion. Speaking of, I work at the Magic Castle. That's when I moved to LA. That was my first job there,
that's where I wanted to head next with this.
Oh, okay.
With a lot of your performing, because I've seen you do the Magic Castle stuff.
Oh.
And now I want to know, if nobody has looked this up on YouTube yet, they need to immediately. How did performing with Jeff Goldblum come about?
Wow.
Because as soon as I saw that, I immediately went to every single person that I was at work with and going, my friend Bonnie is on stage with Goldblum right now.
I might have peed my pants that night. That was all thanks, and sadly he passed away a few months ago, but that was all thanks to my friend Q Fortier.
We met Q in Chicago. Yeah.
Dear friend of mine, who was a master of pulling strings of himself, and you know, would make opportunities for his friends. If he believed in you, he would do everything in his power to help you get to where he thinks you should be.
Wow.
And we were there. He had. This was years ago. He had won some kind of charity, and the winning thing was to be able to sing with Jeff Goldblum's jazz band.
Oh my God!
And finally, and then COVID hit, and so it obviously got pushed. And then whenever everything's opened back up again, he wrote them saying, "I don't want to sing with his band. I want to pass this on and give this to someone who should sing with the band."
Okay.
And so that was all him. And I get there, so we didn't know what song I was going to do. We didn't know what key it was going to be. We had no rehearsal. Jeff Goldblum had no idea who I was and if I could sing at all.
Right.
This was just like, oh, this lady won a charity. You know, like...
this could be a nightmare. This could be wonderful.
Like, for all they know, I could have been a Make-A-Wish, you know? Like, this was that level. They had no idea who I was.
When you wish upon a star.
So I get up there... And, you know, we decide ahead of time, like right before, that it was going to be Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. And, you know, I don't know what key it's going to be in, and I don't know anything. And then I turn, you know, to the saxophone player, I think it was, or one of the guys up there that looked like he was kind of like the musical director. In charge.
Yeah.
And I was like, so how's it, like, is it first chorus, first bridge, chorus? And Jeff overheard me. He's like, "You're doing the verses?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, she knows the verses." So either that was like fear in his voice, or
he was impressed. Yeah,
that I knew the verses, but also that he's like, "Oh no, the song is longer. That means this. If she can't sing, we're all in trouble."
Right.
And it was such a cool feeling after like singing the first phrase. There's pictures of like his face and like video of his reaction. He was just like, he didn't even play the piano for like the entire first intro. He was just like staring and like doing his face. Yeah, he was doing the Goldblum face, and doing his arms, and it was such an amazing opportunity and such an amazing feeling. And then the audience reaction too. Like the minute I start singing, they all just started like going crazy.
Like, this is actually a thing.
They're like, oh good, she's not some random person off the street. I mean, I was, but
well, yeah, not anymore.
It was such an incredible.
Oh, that had to have been
probably
so surreal.
One of my favorite memories.
Yeah, which is why I had to ask about that, because I mean, both of my kids are obsessed with Goldblum.
Oh, who isn't?
I mean,
I don't trust anyone who doesn't love Jeff
As is
Goldblum.
most of the world anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I could not imagine the fear and butterflies going up to perform with Goldblum.
Fun fact too, I met him before, and I told him this on stage. Like after I sang, I was like, "We've actually met before, but I looked a little different," and he was like, even more confused. He came to the Magic Castle, so during the holiday season, I'm the Mrs. Claus at the Magic Castle.
Oh.
Yes. So he came in with his family one year during one of the brunches when I was Mrs. Claus, and of course I was just like, oh my gosh. So Mrs. Claus, I shuffle up there with Santa and we're all talking and I'm like, Mr. Goldblum, and he said something like, oh, Mrs. Claus, am I on the naughty or the nice list? I was like, oh, you're on my special list, dear. Don't you worry. And I always get the question without fail every year, like, Mrs. Claus, do the naughty children, do they get, coal? Or am I getting coal in my stocking? I think he said something like that. And I'm like, oh, no, dear. Coal is a natural resource now. We can't afford that. All the naughty children get Nickelback CDs. And he thought that was funny. And that was it. But I kept going like, oh, Mr. Goldblum, you're on my you're on my list. Mrs. Claus, I'm channeling myself now. But so I got to tell him that story.
I'm breaking character, but you don't realize it.
You have no idea what's happening in behind this.
The naughty things I'm thinking right now.
Yeah. So he loved that. I got to tell him in person, like, I met you. Man. I met you a few years ago. I was dressed like an old lady, and his face was like, what? And I was like, let me explain.
Let me explain. There's more to it.
Yeah. Let me explain. No, too long. Let me sum up. I love the Magic Castle. It's so funny doing voiceovers and music. People don't sometimes realize the magic community is also a huge part of my life. Like I know way too many magicians. It's a little embarrassing. It's when I go to Vegas and I'm just like, it's like seeing all my friends on posters.
Performing where?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, and anytime I go to Vegas with friends, everyone's like, let's go see a magic show. And I'm like, oh gosh, you guys, I see magic every night.
Enough magic, guys.
I'm up to here with magic. You get cut in half. You get cut in half. I'm sick of it.
Everybody has quarters behind their ears.
Everybody has swords in their bodies. I'm done. Pick a card, any card. I don't want to pick anything.
I want to pick a way out of here.
Yeah. But I love magic. I love the magic community. I love the Magic Castle. It's like a second home to me.
Now, did you have like an inn at the Magic Castle?
I had an inn in the sense that I could get in as a guest because in order to get in the castle, you have to be a member or a guest of a member.
I've
and I knew enough
tales.
Magicians vaguely through living in Vegas that I was able to get in as a guest.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it. And I kept showing up anytime I could. And I would ask the front desk, are you hiring? Are you hiring? And they got so sick of me asking, they finally caved and said yes. Or I just had good timing. One day after like 3 months of asking.
Someone got fired. She's here.
I've been there, I've been there 14 years now this December.
I didn't realize it was actually that long.
I know. It was supposed to be like, I'll just work here a year or two to start out my career in Hollywood. 14 years later, I'm like, I'm still here.
See you at the company party.
Yeah, I'm part of the wood now. Yeah.
Bonnie's just decor now.
Yeah. Actually, that's not too far off from what I do. I'm just kidding. But when I do go to the castle and walk in, the members, they all treat me like family. Everyone there is just, so it's so wonderful. Oh. I love that place. Anyway, I gush.
Did you miss anything on your list there, Chris?
I know. I'm trying to fill in the blanks.
I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't talk about your music.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Because
I do. Isn't this a music podcast?
So no, I was wait. Oh, well, I mean,
Oh.
50-50.
Okay.
50-50.
I knew that you did music, but I wasn't really that familiar with it until recently. I started listening to some of your stuff.
To research.
Oh,
And
yes.
I will say that it takes a particular person to be able to pull off a good parody. Weird Al being one.
Yes, Weird Al is a
So-
huge inspiration.
He's the god of the parody.
I always walk into this situation where I'm listening to a parody with a certain level of skepticism.
Hesitance.
So
Yeah, there's some. I hate to use the word lazy, but there's some lazy parodies out there.
Yes.
Yeah, to where you
yours
can, like,
not included.
thank you.
No,
Because-
not at all.
Thank
I
you.
have very much enjoyed them. I was listening to what was it today? Spider-Man, which was
yeah.
a lot of fun.
That's a fun one.
Library Bards. That's. Are you still doing Library Bards, or is this?
Yeah, so Xander Genre is my band partner. A lot of people know him from like TBS's King of the Nerds and a lot of
Yep.
the TTRPG realm of Twitch, Relics and Rarities, Dungeons and Dragons, all that stuff. which is
TTRPG
also
being
tabletop role playing games.
There we
That's
go.
also actually stuff that I do too, but that's a whole other podcast conversation.
Yeah.
That's
right.
this one.
Yeah, that's my life too. I'm wearing. I mean, you can't see it, obviously, listeners, but I'm wearing a necklace made of dice right now.
it's wonderful.
So,
I've been eyeballing it all. You keep touching it. I'm like, that's such a cool necklace.
this is how
Yes.
I make life decisions. I go to the store and I'm like, oh, should I buy milk today? And then I roll a d20 and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing milk today. I'm going back for the candy bars. with parody and comedy music, Xander and I. So he was on a show called King of the Nerds. I was on a show that was another step we skipped called The Quest. It was a fantasy reality show on ABC.
Yeah.
That was amazing. It was
remember
shot
that
in
show.
Austria, lived in a castle. It was great.
What? I
Fought
don't
ogres,
remember
like
that.
a typical Tuesday. Saved the queen, no big deal. But we were both on these nerdy reality shows, and we were friends. And so we started doing a little bit of panels at conventions of like behind the scenes of a nerdy reality show. And we knew that shtick wouldn't last very long. So like, how do we keep booking conventions, but something that's ours? That's our project. That like ABC and TBS won't come after us.
They won't ding you.
And that's how the Library Bards got created. We both sing, we both love music, we both love comedy, and we just were like, this is a perfect way to share our love for the nerdy fandoms that we enjoy with others.
So the music and the arrangements is that a total collaboration, or does one person do one thing and somebody else do another? How does it
So
work out?
with writing the lyrics, Xander and I, we will. With the fandoms that we're really passionate about, for example, the Princess Bride song, I wrote that one by myself.
Love that one.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Xander is a huge Power Ranger fan. He wrote that one. He also wrote like the Sailor Moon song, and then a lot of the other ones we'll come up with ideas for. And like for example, like I'll start writing. I think I started writing like the the Spider-Man parody, and then like I got stuck on like a certain part, and then I would pass it on to Xander and like let fresh eyes take it, and then I'd move on to another. So we just it just worked out. Like we both like to be witty and funny and come up with ideas together. So it's a huge collaboration. As for the music, we would hire musicians to make the tracks for us. There's a few that we use. Our friend Sam is one, as well as we used Breakmaster Cylinder for our Princess's Captive song.
Oh, it has kind of that 8-bit, 16-bit.
Yeah.
That-
And
that
then
was
oh gosh, I don't want to mess up anyone's names, but there's some incredible look at the back of our albums. There's some
Right.
incredible There's some incredible people who have made our tracks and we collaborate with quite a bit, so we get those made, and then we go in and record, and we try and get as much done as possible. It's kind of chaos when we record, and we wanted to keep doing it. Obviously, with COVID, we went on hiatus, and then when things started opening up again, I started doing cons again. But Xander kind of wanted to focus more on his solo career of doing more things with Twitch and the TTRPG community. And because he streams so much, it's difficult for him to travel. Because the minute he's away from taking away from the Twitch streams,
loses revenue.
He's going to lose revenue,
Yeah.
lose viewers. So it just made sense for me to start doing Library Bards solo for now. We're not saying that that's how it's going to be forever.
Right.
It's just more of I'm working on more solo music as well. So it made sense for me to take my solo music and Library Bards and kind of create my own solo act at conventions for it.
Yeah.
So your solo music, is that all original music that you're doing?
So excited about it. Let me talk about my
Yeah.
new
Yeah, let's
album.
do
We were
that.
just about to hit
We're going to close with a banger. So my solo album has been so long. For those listening that helped with the Kickstarter and have been waiting for it, I am so sorry. It is, I had no idea the amount of time, because I'm doing it all by myself, not just the writing and the music and this, but everything, the studio, the studio rentals, the instrumental hiring of all the musicians, the getting the mechanical licensing, basically everything by myself. It just was so overwhelming, and it took me a lot longer than I thought I could. And also, I'm a perfectionist, which is never a good thing.
No, not
and
when it
because
comes to
it was
music.
a lot of my original music that I was sharing with the world for the first time.
It's your baby.
It's my baby, so I wanted it to be perfect, and it's getting close to being perfect. The CD itself, it's called Con Artist.
We talked about
And
this
the
in
title
Chicago,
song, Con Artist, is it's a love song that you think I'm singing about a criminal, but if you listen closely to the lyrics, they all have double meanings to be actually about an artist at Comic-Con, an artist alley. So
Nice.
a lot of quick drawn son of a gun references. You're the next one to be framed. He has a weapon full of lead, but it's a pencil. Things like that. So I like to, even though it's it's not a parody, I still like to keep it a little tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
And also, it's clever. I like play
The
on words.
wordplay, yeah.
Yeah, I like wordplay. So people can listen to the song, think it's about this, and then they find out the twist, listen to it again, and it's a whole other song now.
Yeah, it's a whole new viewpoint from it. Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's funny.
I get it now.
I get it now. Oh, she's not trying to commit crime. She just wants her portrait done. Oh, it makes so much more sense.
So do you have collaborators for music on this as well?
I do. I am so lucky that I found the musicians that I have. So I work with such talented musicians. I sing with a few bands in the Los Angeles area already. I sing with a Meatloaf tribute band, and I was able to
man.
pull the bass player and the drummer from that. And the bass player also does a lot of arrangements, so he arranged some of the songs. One of my dear friends in LA, who's also a music mentor to me, I've worked in a lot of shows with. He's a musical director. Works with Richard Sherman a lot from the Sherman Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
But his name is Richard Allen, and he's probably one of the most talented pianists I've ever met, and is also an arranger. And he's worked with me very closely with all the songs as well. And I'm just blown away. Here's the thing. I wanted this album to be super special. With Library Bards, we used orchestrated tracks. With this album, it is all live musicians. And I'm talking violin, mandolin, harp, a horn section. I went a little overboard. I'm not saying every song has all of that. That
Yeah.
would be a little much. But, obviously, I also wanted to showcase my natural singing voice. A lot of people know me as a comedy musician that does parody for a lot of pop and rock music, but this album kind of leans a little bit more towards blues and jazz, which I'm a huge fan of, especially being from Louisiana,
Right.
and loving the old standards, singing with Jeff Goldblum's jazz band. That's the kind of music I love to sing.
Okay.
So it is still nerdy for all you listening. It's still very nerdy. It's half covers, half originals. Okay. And the covers include stuff like a jazzy version of It's Not Easy Being Green from the Muppets.
Nice.
Why Don't You Do Right, Jessica Rabbit song from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's a bossa nova medley of the original series theme and the Enterprise theme. Because everyone needs a little bossa nova.
No, are you using the weird lyrics?
Oh, yeah.
From TOS? Oh, my God.
I performed it on
did you?
at this convention that we're recording. I performed Friday night, and I think a lot of people were like, those are the words. She's saying words. There's words now. And let's see, the theme to The Last Unicorn.
Oh, wow.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of what else is on there. Oh, Storybook Love, the song from The Princess Bride.
Oh, nice.
So, and so I wanted to make this album. All the covers are fandoms that have made me who I am. So it's Princess Bride. It's, like the old 80s animation, like Last Unicorn. It's Star Trek. It's the Muppets. So I was pulling from everything that I love and hold dear. And then my original music is a little bit more personal. I have a song about a friend who died called Jacosa. It's about my friend Jacosa who passed away not too long ago. And then I have a song called 4 Letters. It's about ADHD and living with ADHD. It's a blues rock song. It's pretty funny. And then I have a song that I love called Enough, and it's about imposter syndrome. It's a song I wrote to my younger self. And I feel like so many people out there in any industry, but I think especially in entertainment, feel like they're never talented enough. I don't sing well enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. And with the rejection that we get every day in this industry, I wanted to kind of write a song to remind myself and my younger self as a child that you are enough. Like that's all in your head. And so hopefully when people hear it, they also kind of feel that feeling of being enough as well. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank
This
you.
album sounds amazing. I
Thank
want
you.
it right now.
It's coming. I
Soon
swear. I'm hoping, I don't know when this is coming out, but
Next week.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
I am
quick.
hoping, crossing my fingers, that it'll be out digitally by the holidays.
Okay, nice.
It's being mixed right now.
So imminent.
We're getting so close, but again, it might not be. I don't want to. I can't promise. That's a lot of work for my poor mixer to to
anyone
do.
listening to this knows of us, and so
And our mixing and recording woes.
they know how long it takes to do this stuff.
It's a lot of work.
It's a big, a very tedious.
Well, and then day jobs on
Rewarding
top of that
process.
too.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. And that's with COVID, it really put a damper on. I had to be very careful. I couldn't have all the band at once. We had to separate everything because LA has very strict studio rules, and also, I couldn't afford to get a giant studio where let me put the horn section in this corner, and I'm like, oh yes,
You'll
$1
be
million.
isolated in Studio 3.
Yeah, like Capitol Records, let's go. So I had to, we had to get a smaller studio, and we could only fit a few people in at a time, and due to COVID, we had to make sure everything was safe and spaced out. And because we recorded this, early of this year, a lot of the music, February, March, April, so there was still that. Still a little bit more stricter rules before the summer, before these new COVID variant shots came in, before the boosters. So I'm just so grateful for everyone who's worked on it, and I'm so grateful for everyone waiting for it. I know my Kickstarter backers are twiddling their thumbs in a corner, going, "Okay." And
Paid for this, where is it?
Yeah, and I have a Patreon right now, and they're they're eagerly waiting for it as well. So I'm gonna start putting in as much little sneak peeks as possible and updates, and I might release 1 or 2 as a single if I can't get the full album ready by the holidays.
Sneak peek at least.
The 4 Letters song ADHD is pretty much done, so I might release that as a single for Christmas.
All right. Was that your first choice as to this is going to be the single?
No, I honestly thought Con Artist would be.
Okay.
But Con Artist is a beast of a song. That's the one where it's it's piano, drums, bass, guitar, and then we're violin, and then we're strings, and then we're doing this, and it gets big, and it builds and builds and builds and builds, and then I just let the band go crazy at the end, and they're just they're rocking out for a good minute or two, where I'm just going wow, it's such a fun song, and it gets so. It starts out so intimate and sultry and sexy, singing about a con artist, and then it just builds. Key change, build. So it's such a beast of a song that I do want to release it, but that one's gonna probably, I don't even know how long that's gonna be to mix, because that one's all over the place.
That's a lot of layers to mix.
It's a lot of layers.
It's you know what this song needs? Chimes.
You know what this song needs? A string section. You know what this song needs? More violin, live violin.
Oh my god.
It probably needs cowbell.
Always.
Probably.
Always.
Always.
More percussion.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Yeah. But no, I'm just so excited for it. I really am.
I love
I'll
that.
share once we turn this off while we're packing up. I'll share some of the music.
Ooh,
with you.
that's exciting.
Sorry, viewers, our listeners. You can't see.
Insider information.
For you staring at your speakers, viewers, I guess. But
So I think what I want to know, we've been going for a while now.
Yeah, sorry.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
No, but what I really
Get
like to
2
know
episodes worth for me.
right, we could.
is what's your aspiration? Like, what do you want? What do you want to do? Like, where do you want this all to take you?
What do you want to do with your life, Gordon?
Oh gosh. Oh dear. My answer to this is always the same. I just want to make a comfortable living doing what I love. Sadly, I am not there yet. A lot of people, they have like a warped vision of what living in Hollywood is like. They think like, oh, you do voices on Star Trek, you do this, you do that. And I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. I'm still, paying off like medical debt and this and that. And, at the end of the day going like, oh, maybe I will eat a lean cuisine instead, because I can't afford to, people don't realize I have like 4 jobs just to get by, which I'm not complaining. I'm so grateful for everything that I have and so grateful for the life that I have and all the travel I'm able to do with the conventions. But I think a lot of people, with social media, they get this obscured view of what it's like because, they see me traveling and doing this and that, and they don't realize, like, I'm lucky if I break even sometimes with doing the con circuit. But with that being said, like, I feel like I'm only just, like, 1 or 2 opportunities away for being where I want to be. I would love to... knock on wood. Like if anyone's listening out there who has the powers that be, I would love to be able to do a live action role on a Star Trek show.
Oh yeah.
So many people have been so kind with loving my computer voice, saying that, oh, you're like the next Majel Barrett, and I'm like, yes. Now let's actually make that true.
Yeah.
And how many roles did she play?
Exactly.
Mama Troy, still one of my favorite roles.
Loxana.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite roles, and I to play a role like that or just anything. Yeah. Honestly, I just would love to do more on-camera stuff because so many people see me as like a voiceover actor and don't see me as like an actual actress. That I'd love to, get my feet wet in more on-camera.
Let me show you what I can do, world.
Excuse me, come here,
Bunny
boy.
coming through.
Yeah, come up and see me sometime. Except I'm on the top floor, and you're But no, I want to. I'd love to do more music now that this first album. Now that I've figured out all the things that I've done wrong, I want to go back and like, okay, now I know. Now I can learn from these mistakes and like make the next one will be so much more easier. More easy, sure,
whichever.
Grammar,
Fine.
and
You have a song about that.
I do, I do, and then I'm actually pitching a bunch of my own shows right now. I came up with a bunch of different concepts. I got really bored during COVID. Came up with a bunch of different like TV show ideas, and I'm currently in the process of pitching those. So I'm hoping one of these noodles that I throw at the wall sticks and something comes of it. I'd love to keep doing music. I'd love to keep sharing my love of nerdy things with fans and basically doing what I'm doing now, but on a grander scale. Yeah.
Well, I love your
easy.
ambition.
Thank you.
It sounds like you're just
It's exhausting.
trying to do everything you want to do, and I think that's
That's
great.
You're on the right track for it.
It's so exhausting, y'all. The hustle is real. I'm going to be 37 in a few months, and I'm just like, oh, man, maybe I should, like, isn't this the time when I'm supposed to, like, have things figured out? Oh, well. Oh, well.
I'm 45, and I barely have it figured out.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving me hope.
Yeah.
Just saying, I'll eventually figure it out, but, sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
I think when I hit 42, I think that's the golden year, right? Where all the life's answers are answered.
Sure.
The meaning of life, 42. Anyone? No?
I got you.
We got you. We get it.
You grab a towel
bring
and
your towel.
go.
Yeah. Well, Bonnie, we love you. And
I
we
love
think
you
you're
too.
amazing, and
Thank you.
we're pulling for you.
Thank you. Get that album out, kid.
Well, that will be coming out soon, but until then, where can people follow you?
You can follow me all over social media at Bonnie Bell G. That's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, for as long as that survives. I guess Hive, I'm on that. I don't even know. Facebook, oh gosh, everywhere. Patreon. I have a website now, BonnieGordon.com. Easy to find. And then, of course, Library Bards is everywhere as well, at Library Bards, if you want to check out that. I have a YouTube channel, both Library Bards and personal. I'm going to be starting to do a lot more content. My goal is to do a lot more content for both my Patreon and also just getting more music out there, more videos. just keep going. I might have to wait till after December because now I'm getting into Mrs. Claus season, and so I'll be dressing up like an old lady a lot. So, I don't know. You just might see a lot of those videos for a while. Most of my TikTok is me as Mrs. Claus. So.
It'll be fine. I mean, you can incorporate other characters dressed up as Mrs. Claus.
There you go.
Like an undercover Mrs. Claus type thing.
A Mrs. Claus mashup. Yeah. Okay.
I like it. I'm for it.
Okay, I'll get right on that.
Just to go ahead and steal my idea.
Just one more thing for Bonnie to do.
Yeah, let me just add that to my docket.
Yes.
But yeah, you guys are so wonderful. And yes, I can't wait to crash a 5-year mission.
We're going to make that happen here.
Yeah,
it's going to be fantastic.
We definitely are. We have a lot of songs right now that we're just trying to piece together and get to the point where we can say, okay, now we need some extra vocals here and here and here.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Doing this album, doing the Library Bards albums were so different than what I'm doing now. And you guys are a full band that you have to go in and record everything, make sure everything is, tight and ready to go. And I like doing this album has been so eye-opening to how things work in music. I'm like, oh, so this is how it's done. Usually we just kind of throw it together and
here you do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Oh, trust me, we've self-recorded and mixed all of our own albums so far, and it's just like, is it done yet?
It's very rewarding when you get that box of CDs.
Yeah. I can only imagine. That's what I'm excited about.
Well, and then by the end, you're done. Like, here's the 4th variation of this mix of the same exact song that you need to listen to. I turned the bass up by 0.75.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the thing is it's just me right now. So I'm listening to it going like, oh man, like, and I'm trying to give notes, but I'm so close to it and I'm such a perfectionist. I'm like, all right, this one note with the poor guy mixing is like Bonnie, and I'm like, just do it again. I'm sorry. Don't hate me, please. I'm so sorry.
You know what that's like.
Oh, trust me.
Yeah. Dear. Anyway, yay.
Bonnie, thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much for having me. And y'all are just such a delight. And I love the whole Trek Geeks family, and just everyone's just so wonderful.
I'm actually amazed that Bill and Dan didn't snag you for an interview while you were right there, and we beat them to the punch on this one.
Oh, they're coming for me.
Like 5-Year Mission, and do you like getting exclusive content? You should head over to Patreon right now and visit 5-Year Mission, because we've got all the exclusive content that you're not getting on any other social media. There's videos, pictures, sometimes we post news there before we post it anywhere else, behind the scenes of us working on albums and podcasts, and sometimes just pictures of us goofing off that we don't put anywhere else, only on Patreon. And there are many options to choose from. You can be a lieutenant commander, you can be a captain, you can even be an admiral. Each of those comes with their own special perks. One of the perks of being an admiral is that you get to be a producer on this podcast. Currently, our producers are Carol Jones, Jen Tift, Helen Lake, Steve and Frankie Palopoli, Roxy and Becky, Debbie Rinke, Madison Rachel Jones, and Jim Morehouse. So what are you waiting for? Go to Patreon/5-Year Mission right now. That's the number 5-Year Mission. And sign up. It's that easy.
Blah, 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 blah.
Do you like pins? I love pins. And I'm not talking about some flimsy flair. No, I'm talking about high quality, amazing, you have to have it enamel pins. I love these things, and there's no better place to go to find pins from your favorite nerdy properties than fansets.com. You'll find everything Star Trek, but you'll also see more, from things like Ultraman to Fantasy Worlds of Irwin Allen. That show's like Lost in Space and Land of the Giants, people. And brand new for the holidays, get yourself a Murph holiday pin. That adorable blob of goo from Star Trek Prodigy is sporting a Santa hat complete with Delta and the year 2022. Get it while you can, and grab a fan dangler while you're at it. And don't forget to use the promo code TrekGeeks. That's all caps, no spaces, when you order to get a satisfying 10% off of anything you buy. And spend at least $30 to get free shipping. Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank Fansets for sponsoring every dad-blamed episode of 5 Year Mission, the podcast.
John Billingsley, Phil Phlox, Hollywood Food Coalition here. Guess what? Trek Talks 2. It's happening. You asked for it. You got it. January 14, 8 hours of premium Star Trek entertainment. Amazing guests, madcappery, insightful social commentary, musical interludes. Support HoFoCo. Check us out at hofoco.org, helping people in need for almost 40 years. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on the 14th of January at trektalks.net. Live long and mark your calendars. Again, trektalks.net.
Is this what this podcast is about? Like, you just interview like people's lives or
Yeah,
whatever? Okay,
yeah.
so I'm not like taking over an entire podcast of like, let me talk about me.
Me.
Should I talk about
This is the Bonnie Gordon episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This
I
is
didn't know if
strictly
I was,
you.
Like,
No.
this is
not
be
a-
more of a
this
give
is
and
not a-
take. Like, tell me about where
No,
you're
this is
from,
not a
man.
segment on the show. This is all you.
Everyone's
for this whole
tired
episode.
of hearing about us.
Cool.
We
Yeah.
want some
Great, more about me then.
different
That's right.
content.
I'll keep talking all day.
Tell
I'm a
us
rambler.
more, Bonnie.
I'm a rambler, boys.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Wow,
Then I
Greece.
moved to Las Vegas.
All right.
I sure want to live. I sure want to live.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 5 Year Mission, the podcast. If any of you are interested in listening to more of our music, you can check us out on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or pretty much anywhere that you can listen to music. Just search for 5 Year Mission and we should be the first thing that comes up. If you would like to contact us in regards to the podcast or anything else that you want to talk to us about, you can email us at 5yearmissionband@gmail.com.
And for more information about the band, you can go to 5yearmission.net. And also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
5 Year Mission, the podcast, is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.